Hi, welcome to Module 3 of Public Administration. And this week we are going to look at the expansion of public administration. So we're going to look at the rise of the administrative state and see how public administration grew over the years. So to do this, we're going to look at the creation of an agency and then look at the function of administrative agencies. So we're going to look at their role in dealing with problems that come up. And so I will have usually introduction video every week, and we'll go over what to expect. So this is a screencast, and you're going to start off this week by responding to your classmates' EEOC discussions. So I know some people last week went ahead and accidentally started responding early. No, that's okay. That happens at the beginning of a semester. But going forward, make sure you wait until the next week to start pulling from the prior week. So this week we will go back and start discussing the EEOC discussion. Again, log on 3 different times, have 3 different responses per thread. So there's going to be at least 2 threads you'll be discussing on, but you can go ahead and respond to other biographies than ones you initially posted on. But do your response, then log off and give it a day so other people can respond to you and have a real discussion that way. Once you start doing that, read chapter 2 of the text, and then we're going to watch some videos that highlight how the EPA was created. So there's a series of events, and you're going to learn about that this week, and it shows what one main pivot that led to the creation of the Environmental Protection Agency. And this is an important agency to understand because in South Dakota, people here like to really complain about the EPA, but they have a real reason for existing, and really it's to counter the people who don't care about others who live downstream or downwind from them. So it's one administrative agency that deals with pollutants that actually drift across state lines or through waterways to people's neighbors. And they look at the long-term effects of pollution. After that, we're going to look at Flint, Michigan, and look at their water contamination issue, which hasn't been totally resolved, and it's something they're still dealing with. But we're going to look at some of the earlier days of that and watch a documentary that was made kind of recent, so you can see this documentary. It goes over what people experienced, and it led to I think the documentary gets into the legal consequences for some of the bureaucrats involved. But you're also going to look at the federal level and see some people in the EPA took some responsibility for this. So you're going to have a discussion on using the lessons from Flint to come up with some policies to help lessen the chance of something like this happening again, or dealing with it better when it does. And there's going to be a Chapter 2 quiz that's open and a Dropbox assignment. And for the Dropbox assignment, you're going to use your book for the first 2 questions. The third question is about the EPA. So you're going to tie some of the videos we watch on the EPA to help explain why the EPA exists. There'll be a checklist, and once you're done with that, move on to Chapter 3 of your book. So as you go through this week, make sure you move through the module in order. So there'll be this video will go here. Here's key points from the week, and then we're going to start Cuyahoga River, and then there's going to be a screencast, another river video, and we're going to work our way down. Then here's an optional reading on the origins of the EPA, which I think will come in handy for your Dropbox assignment. And for these, you need to do is a couple of paragraphs. The first 2 you'll answer using your textbook. I do recommend you try to cite your sources but you're using your textbook, so you can just mention the book in your answer. The third question you're not going to have to use your textbook for. This has more to do with actually the videos we'll be watching up here. Then we're going to watch the short documentary on Flint, and you're going to look at the EPA response, an EPA letter. So from one bureaucrat at a federal agency sending a letter to the governor of Michigan, and then you're going to read the resignation about the resignation of an EPA official. So it kind of highlights how a local issue affects bureaucrats at the federal level. For this discussion 3, you're going to have 2 posts you're going to make. And what you're going to do is you're going to take the case of Flint, Michigan, and you're going to use it to think of a single policy that you would propose at the state level to help limit the chances of this disaster from repeating itself. And I say limit the chance, not eliminate, because it's pretty hard to think of one policy that would eliminate that. If you can think of one, great, but really your goal here is to help ameliorate the problem for other people later on. A second post you're going to do is going to be looking at the federal level. So first you're going to do the state level, then the federal level, 2 different posts, and make sure you do the corresponding discussion. Just an initial post this week, no responses until I say so next week. Here's the Chapter 2 quiz, and here's your checklist. A lot of times when we look at an issue, I want to point this out, people will look at an issue like Flint, Michigan, and they'll use a political lens to view it, or they'll use a social economic angle to look at it with, and they'll evaluate it as being environmental racism, which it could be discussed in that way. But for this class, you are going to just discuss it from the public administration standpoint. So you're going to look at it as the individual bureaucrat at any level in the agency. So you can look at somebody in charge of the agency, or even a lower level, street level bureaucrat who's discussing possible policy solutions to these problems. So one takeaway I want you to get from this class is public administration is generally dealing with fixing problems, delivering service and fixing problems. That first reading you did from Wilson goes over the issues with public administration. Wilson is one of the most well-known authors on public admin. He passed away a few years ago, but his books are still used as textbooks. So if you go for an MSAS program or MPA, you will study him. And he's a very good author, and he's well respected by people in all walks of life and all over the political spectrum. So I hope you appreciated reading him. He doesn't always find the answer, but he discusses that as being part of a problem, and that's part of the complexity of public admin. This class is very interdisciplinary, and the study is very interdisciplinary, and that doesn't always mean that we could find the answer, but we're generally able to suggest some things to help make the problem less bad. If you have any questions, make sure you send me an email on D2L, and I will get back to you. If you don't have your textbook yet, send me an email about that, and we'll get this straightened out for you and get something figured out. I know that some orders have been a little slow in coming in. But again, I want to thank you guys for your participation. So far you're moving along pretty well with the class. And again, if you have any questions, make sure you reach out to me. Thank you.